Good morning. I hope your coffee is hot this morning, your dog very cute, or the sunrise brilliant. I am wishing you and the people you love and our neighbors here in the U.S. and around the globe safety and connection today and every day. My name is Grover. It's Thursday, November 14th, and this is Grover Reads the News. Would you like to hear the news for today? If so, keep on listening. First up, national electoral news on Congress and the presidential transition. Ruben Gallego has won the U.S. Senate seat in Arizona over Kari Lake, a candidate who pushed Christian nationalist and white supremacist ideologies like the Great Replacement theory. Lake has now lost 2 elections in a row in Arizona, having run for governor in 2022, reports Catherine Tully McManus at Politico. The Republicans have secured 218 seats needed for the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday evening, according to the Washington Post. Democrats have won 208 seats so far. Senate Republicans on Wednesday chose Senator John Thune of South Dakota to be their new leader, rejecting an outside pressure campaign from Donald Trump's allies to break with the establishment in the secret ballot election. The Republicans will now hold a trifecta of leadership in the presidency, House of Representatives, Senate, and conservatives on the Supreme Court. President-elect Trump has announced a new member of his future leadership team, appointing multi-billionaire Elon Musk and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy to lead a newly created, quote, government efficiency department, unquote. The department will operate outside of government and provide advice to the White House on cutting spending. Over the past week, many people and organizations have been gathering and planning action in preparation for life in the United States after January 20th. An article by Daniel Hunter titled 10 Ways to Be Prepared and Grounded Now That Trump Has Won was published in Waging Nonviolence. It is analysis, not news per se, but it's news for anyone who is ready to start getting ready for what is ahead. I'm going to read the top 10 headline points here, and if you're not ready, if you're still grieving, that is okay. The link will be in the footnotes of the Substack and the show notes of the podcast if and when you're ready to come back to it later. Hunter argues, quote, the key to taking effective action in a Trump world is to avoid perpetuating the autocrat's goals of fear, isolation, exhaustion, and disorientation, unquote. He lists the top 10 ways to be prepared as 1. Trust yourself. 2. Find others who you trust. 3. Grieve. 4. Release that which you cannot change. 5. Find your path. 6. Do not obey in advance. Do not self-censor. 7. Reorient your political map. 8. Get real about power. 9. Handle fear. Make violence rebound. And 10. Envision a positive future. This full article with tips and links to resources and stories of lessons from other leaders who have endured and won campaigns under autocracy and fascism can be found on wagingnonviolence.org. An update on global conflicts concerning Israel, Lebanon, Gaza, and the U.S. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the U.S. wants, quote, real and extended pauses of attacks in Gaza to get assistance to those who need it. But the best way to help people would be to, quote, end the war. He said this a day after the 30-day deadline the U.S. had set for Israel to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and allow aid in. However, despite 8 international aid groups who say Israel failed to meet the humanitarian aid standards set by the U.S., the Biden administration announced it will not limit arms transfers to Israel, the administration said on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the Israeli military killed 6 people, including 3 children, outside of Beirut in an early morning attack on an apartment building. Israeli forces killed at least 22 people across the Gaza Strip on Wednesday, deepening their incursion into Beit Hanun town in the north, forcing most remaining residents to leave. These events were reported by the Associated Press, The Guardian, and Reuters. In non-electoral U.S. news, the FAIR Act has passed in New York City, stopping landlords from a practice that saddled tenants with thousands of dollars of upfront fees, requiring them to pay for landlord hire real estate brokers in order to rent an apartment. New York City has more than 2 million renters, 2/3 of the city's population. Now, though tenants may hire their own representatives, they will no longer be forced to pay for brokers that solely represent the interests of their landlords. This story summarizes reporting from Jake Offenhartz at the Associated Press. Finally, we have animal news on deep sea slugs. Last month, researchers from the Monterey Bay Research Institute published findings in the journal Deep Sea Research about a newly understood species within the ocean's midnight zone, a glowing, quote, mystery mollusk. The apple-sized species, named Bathydevius catechexlus, is a swimming sea slug that glows with bioluminescence and has a body with a paddle-like tail and a large gelatinous hood. It is the first sea slug found to live in the deep ocean. Typically, sea slugs live on the seafloor or in coastal environments like tide pools, while only a few are known to live in the open water near the surface, says Ashley Strickland with CNN. The animals are hermaphrodites with both female and male reproductive organs. When it's time to release eggs, they descend and use their foot to temporarily attach to the seafloor. When it needs to evade predators, the sea slug relies on its transparent body to hide in plain sight. If Bathydevius is threatened, it glows with bioluminescence to cause a distraction. The animal has luminous granules in its tissues, which help create a starry appearance across its back. Thank you for joining me to hear some news today. To subscribe, support the show, and listen in Choose Your Own Section Digest form, head over to groverreadsthenews.substack.com. Thank you to those who have already shared, subscribed, or become a paid subscriber. As the news keeps unfolding, know that we don't have to face it alone. We can do it together. Until next week, be well.